Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show, where we talk about all components of business and how to utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Athin Cassiotis. I'm a serial entrepreneur, international speaker, results strategist, business coach, mentor, and consultant. After over 14 years of being in business and running multiple companies, I felt called to start this show. I see many people struggling to start or grow a business, which is why I want to help entrepreneurs achieve success in business quicker, more effectively, and sustainably. Today, I have an awesome guest. He's an entrepreneur, multiple business owner, and football consultant, or soccer consultant if you live in Australia or the US. He was an international football player and now helps people to work more on their businesses through virtual assistants. Welcome, Evan Kostopoulos, and thank you for being on my show.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Great to have you here, man. It's going to be awesome. So, you're a young and hungry entrepreneur. And for those people who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself by telling us your life story.
Yeah, for sure. How long do we have?
We've got as long as you want, mate. So, go as detailed on what you think is going to really benefit with getting people to understand what got you to where you are.
Yeah, so I guess my story started with soccer always. From the age of 4 to 25, that's pretty much all I've ever known. My dad introduced me to the game, and from 4 years old, as I said, that's the only thing I knew. I didn't know anything else. And I guess I just went through the ranks, started through club, and eventually got my first pro deal at 18 years old. And I played my first game at 19 years old, which was awesome. And then from that period there, it was a bit of a roller coaster, and I really experienced the different side of sport and business that, as a young athlete, you got no idea about until you actually live it. So I dealt with some dodgy agents, some football corruption, failed medicals, so everything I could possibly see on the other side of sport, I experienced, where it was all rosy the first few years. I then experienced some tougher times, which was a great eye opener, and I think valuable lessons and failures, which have led me to where I am now. Ideally, my plan, so to speak, would have been to be a professional forever, up to 35 years old or however long my body allowed me to. But that wasn't the case. It ended quite early. But looking back now, I'm so thankful that I experienced the good and the bad through sport, because it's led me to life now. And I think without those valuable lessons, I wouldn't have, been anywhere. So I'm thankful for sport, and I think that is a very important factor to businesses and business owners, which is why a lot of them are going down the path of hiring or bringing ex-athletes on their team, because of the resilience and other benefits they've received along the way. Post-football, as I said, knowing only football and nothing but football for my first 25 years of life, I had no idea what I was going to do, where my next path was leading me. I did a few courses along the way, human movement, a small business management course. However, I was just doing them for the sake of it, and I really didn't have my mind in one direction post sport, which I probably should have prepared for, but I didn't. So I just became a jack of all trades, which actually I found, even though that comes across as a negative, I feel for me that has become a positive now, because I learned to fail quickly. I tried every single thing. When I say every single thing, I started off as a personal trainer. I was involved in a few startups where I lost quite a bit of money. I was in property, so I flipped some properties. So e-commerce, 3 or 4 e-commerce businesses. And the list goes on. Seriously, there's about 10 different things, so I won't name them all. But I learned that because I didn't have, that time in university or a different pathway where I had an idea what I wanted to do, I thought, okay, let me find organically where I'm supposed to be. So I just started doing everything, and intentionally or unintentionally, it's been a benefit because I failed so quickly. And now I'm, still in my early 30s. I've just turned 30, and I feel like I've got a clear path now where I'm going to go. So in a nutshell, that's how it all started, and that's what's led me now to my main jobs, which are virtual assistants and sports consulting.
Yeah, awesome, mate. That's an amazing story, and yeah, I love the that drive and everything through sport and the ups and downs, and that's like you said where we get a lot of the learnings. But even more so when you said how you tried 10 different types of businesses and different industries and things like that. That's amazing to at a young age, in your 20s, to be able to actually experience that, and have that under your belt. And even like you said, even though you did fail quickly in that, which is an amazing trait to be able to do and keep pushing on, because that'll help you, or anybody a lot in business, to be okay with failure. Then that's awesome. And then you can really go, okay, I didn't really like that, let's try something else. And then you naturally fall. And obviously having, there's obviously the university type styles of things, but there's also, business courses or coaches and mentors that can help you. But sometimes you can still get there. It's just takes a little bit longer and a bit of trial and error, along the way. But otherwise, that's really awesome to hear that. So, you actually do have, probably a lot more experience than someone that's, been in business for maybe 10 years, but only done one business, right? They haven't tried a lot of things. So that's really some awesome traits there. So, initially from, what are your biggest takeaways from being an athlete, at the highest level?
Yeah, I think the main one is just the resilience to never give up. And I think that's where business owners see the benefit in having, as I said earlier, ex-athletes or athletes in their business in some way or form. Because I'm willing to, I'm still early on, and I'm sure I'll fail again. But to me, it's just not a problem to fail. I'm happy to fail again and again because I understand that's a part of life. And I think that resilience, is what keeps me going every day. The fact that, okay, no matter what I experience now, there's no problem. I'll get over that hurdle and I'll move on. I think another factor is we naturally have an entrepreneurial lifestyle we want to go towards, not have ever been stuck in that, let's call it a 9-to-5 office lifestyle. We are, we do an experiment and try different things and have our fingers in a few different pies. And I think that there gives us a lot of self-awareness in the term of, wanting to have a few different streams of income, have a few different hobbies and keep things interesting, and I realized that early on that's how my life would be anyway. I knew I'd never be that, one job for 40 years kind of person. So I think resilience is the main one, and then having that open mindset to explore anything and not be scared of any type of business or, avenue to go down.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And, that resilience, those key components of mindset are so important because, you can teach somebody the same skills, but if they don't have that mindset and that, that will to just keep going, then, it's going to stop a lot of people, depending on, their blocks and the way that they think. So that's really awesome. And, and a key thing, as well is it sort of links into branding actually a bit where, you've got this sort of status, right? You're this, sports star, football player, whatever you're into. And, you've built these things over time, and you may not necessarily have all the skills, but you have connections, with a lot of people in the industries, whether it's overseas or in your home country. And then that can also bring people in, because a lot of business is all about networking as well, right? And the connections you have and things like that. So that's, I think, important as a different element that, sports stars bring. And if they do, either start their own businesses or work in other businesses and, being entrepreneurial or whatever that is, there's definitely a lot of value there. And, for myself, I didn't get as to the highest level as you, but I definitely won a lot of championships, in soccer and tennis, through my years, in various things, and that will to win and succeed and keep going has definitely, got me to where I am. We all have failures, and, if you have the thing that you just keep going and never give up, you'll succeed. It's that simple, right? that's most people just quit, and that's why 3% of business owners make it. The crazy stat that it is, just because they give up. And that's where they say that the best business owners are people that have been disciplined in something for a long period of time. Like if it's sport or martial arts or something similar to that, they say they have built that into themselves to be able to do it. So yeah, I think sports stars are one of the best of being able to do that when they've got the right help in those ways. And yeah, that's awesome, and having that awareness. So yeah, really great points. And now you're obviously very big on virtual assistants, which is growing in the entrepreneur world. So how did you go down that path?
Yeah, so basically being, like I've just mentioned, being that person who always had a few different streams of income and involved in a few different businesses. Although I didn't believe being a jack of all trades is a great thing to do, because it's hard to focus on 10 different jobs at one time, and it's very hard at a starting point to put energy into that. However, I thought there has to be a better way to be able to still have these multiple streams of income, but you're not using all your sweat and tears, because there's only so many hours in a day. And there's only so much money as well. Of course, you can get people to help you, but I mean the salary, paying a few people $80,000 each a year, for example, in multiple businesses, can be very sorry, I've got a mental blank. So it can be a big cost for a business. So obviously, I was approached with virtual assistants in one of the businesses I was involved, and I gave it a chance, and I was quite surprised quickly how beneficial it was to me. And they started off with 1 task, 2 tasks, several tasks within a couple months. So I looked deeper into it, created a model that is pretty much bulletproof, where any task can be done for any business as long as it's trained as it would for a normal employee or employer here. And they basically go through a process that we've created and can pretty much go into any business, and 90% of tasks can be done offshore. So now, there's obviously benefits having people in-house and offshore, and I've found that the combination of both is perfect for any business. And the reason why most businesses now, whether you know it or not, especially the big businesses and companies in the world, actually a lot of the backbone is through virtual assistants or VAs offshore. And there's very, very clear points as to why that's beneficial. It's obviously not only is it a cost saver, because you're paying a lower rate, but they're actually quite qualified in their fields. So we specialize. Okay, you need a bookkeeper will have an accounting background, and I think that's why our model is so strong compared to the traditional VA model. Someone would give you a VA and you've got to sort it out yourself between the VA. We've actually created a system where there's a few people in the middle to make sure it's a very smooth process, and everything is very clear and easy to connect the dots.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Yeah, it is, like you said, really important. And I guess, some people might be a little bit funny about, offshoring and wanting people there, but as you said, it's a cost saver and things. But I think a lot of the time it's also about the time, right? Because, you get new staff in and, there's always, a thing with, time. So, if a business owner feels that they're getting bogged down, doing many tasks in their business, they think they don't have the time, to write processes, for the virtual assistant, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, that's right. And along with obviously the cost itself, time is probably the biggest benefit. And another reason why I experience VAs and I do this time is because, of course, if you can have 3 or 4 people in the background, for example, helping you with document preparation or the accounting side of things, or industry specific tasks that are tailored to your business, then of course you can get a lot more done. But not only that, you can actually put your focus in the business revenue generating tasks where, you can put more energy to it. So it's sort of a win-win. You've got more energy to put your qualities where they need to go. And the VAs can do everything else to support you in the background, as a traditional business does. However, there's multiple benefits having an offshoring team behind you: time, money, and also allowing your staff to focus on what they do best, rather than multitasking 4 or 5 different things. If you've got someone in sales, for example, they should be, working on their main craft, which is sales. So that's what I think is a huge benefit.
Yeah, I love that. And it's sort of a bit of a balance. Like, when you start as an entrepreneur, you start as a business owner, you sort of have to wear every hat to be able to get it off the ground. And then you realize, okay, I need to, start getting people in and focus on the revenue generating things, like you said. And then for other people to focus on the key tasks, or as the business owner to focus on the sales and marketing and delivering and things like that, which is going to bring things in. And then the VAs really help to fill that gap, I guess, for those other tasks in the meantime, which is really important. And you can obviously find them depending on where you're living in the world, in similar time zones. I know with Australia, a lot are in the Philippines as well, which is only a couple of hour time difference, so that can help. So you can have them on the same lines, but it just depends on where everyone's at. But there's always opportunities for people in that way. So I think a key thing as well is obviously you can get them into the business, but I think onboarding can be a big thing, right? And then so that's really important for any staff member. So what important sort of steps and procedures should be undertaken by the business owner to ensure there's a smooth transition in the business?
Of course. And before you obviously choose a company to work with, you got to do due diligence and make sure, everything is where you want it to be before you jump on board. And of course, the main point is obviously security, number one, and the onboarding process itself to make sure everything is captured how it should be. So basically we go through a process where we have a head VA or head VAs, which document every step of the procedure or tasks that need to be done through a task capture, through a program called Suite Process. Now, what that does is the client goes with the VA, the head VA, and documents every step 1, step 2, step 3. So there's something to refer to, not only for the business owner, but for the VA. And as your team grows, there is those procedures documented step by step, which can be, again, referred to every time, can be changed. And not only that, it can also be improved as time goes on, through the VA, who actually can think outside the box and say, okay, I actually think we can save a bit more time by doing X, Y, Z in this format, for example. So we also try and think outside the box and create a system where we can wear a little bit of the weight as well, not just completely do the tasks and pass them on, but actually bring a bit of extra love back into the business and some thinking outside of the box. So that's obviously the main process we go by. We then, in that process where we're documenting all the procedures, we also are finding a VA for you who is qualified in that field. For example, if we're looking at a VA to come into an IT company as a support, we're going to make sure they have some knowledge in that department, or they've worked in there before. Or if a finance company is getting a VA on board, we're going to make sure they have understanding and they've been in finance in the past. So they just have some industry knowledge before jumping on board. And then along with that, once that VA is selected for you, they then go with the head VA and learn all the tasks that were documented in the task capture. So then it's very easy for them to then jump on board and start where the tasks have been captured. And from there, you can create another task and another task, and as businesses see fit. So there could be, as I said, I started with personally with one task, and now it's several. So there's actually a VAs doing 8 to 9 different tasks for some businesses here in Australia. So it's going well. And then obviously security is another thing, where we have multiple levels of security levels, which is obviously another concern for people in Australia offshoring. However, with security, the correct security in place, there's no problem, and we can always have extra levels of support if required. Some business owners actually even have a next to their own computer, they have another computer where they can actually see live the VAs working, and there's actually an app called Active Tech, where every 5 seconds the screen is actually captured to see every step of the day what the VA is doing, what they're searching, what websites they're on, and so forth. So security is a really important factor, we understand, which is why we've created a high level of quality in that area as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. There's a lot of key additional things, like you said there, that are really important. And yeah, I didn't mention security, but like you said, it's a lot of people are a bit wary of bringing people in and what they do. But it's awesome that you give people the peace of mind that it's all taken care of. And it's interesting, and like anything, and it's interesting in the way that we live today, right? Because a lot of people normally have offices and a lot of people around, but now everyone's working virtually, right? Most of the time around the world. So it's now becoming more natural to actually, work, remotely from home, from computers. So it's almost breeding that sort of VA sort of culture of bringing people in, which is quite interesting in that way. So I think people are becoming more accustomed to saying, okay, yeah, we can make this work. We've got to make a few adjustments, but, we can monitor things, like you were saying, and still have that connection and know that people are working and driving the business forward. So yeah, that's really awesome. So obviously like you said, there's a lot of tasks that are automated and things. So is there a way to build the innovation more into it instead of just sort of going down that path?
Yeah, of course. There's different types of systems coming out, every day, from CRM to industry specific automation, and just like businesses are innovating, the same thing is happening in the VA world as a business or employer would here. So basically, from video conferencing to CRM management tools to processing documents a lot quicker with businesses like conveyances and finance and so forth. It's always making things a lot easier to work with. And just it's a matter of just creating that system within your business first, I believe. And then the VAs will then jump on board with that, rather than, in the future, there could be a system where VAs aren't needed in 20 years, where there's systems that are in place where everything's automation through technology. However, there will always be that element of obviously human touch or a VA touch, where there's certain things like we want to press the button to process that document or that order. So there's always going to be that human element involved. However, I do believe most of it will be automated. So I think there will always be a room for obviously in-house, offshore, and technology innovation. Just to what extent and when is the question. However, we're always keeping our tabs on what's the latest bit of technology to then input into our VA services, or recommend it to the business to better themselves.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome, and that's really the entrepreneurial type way of thinking, with innovation and bringing it in, and empowering, I guess, the VAs in terms of making them say, like, listen, we want to improve, and looking at your thoughts instead of just following the process and things like that, which is still important. But yeah, that's really awesome. So I guess having multiple businesses is important, right? Multiple streams of income these days, because there's a lot of, uncertainty, especially in the current times that we're in, where a lot of industries have been rocked. So, yeah, what's changed in your businesses in these sort of times, and how did you leverage that and adapt?
Yes, and naturally, I think I had to adapt through, I lost a bit of money. I lost quite a bit of money in some startups I was involved in. Obviously, going down a few different avenues. My soccer career stopped, unintentionally. So I guess I had to find ways to adapt. And like everyone, I had mentors. I spent a bit of money on coaching to find out where I should be investing my money, how I should set up my different businesses, and where I should put my energy into. And I do think it's important to diversify and pivot into a few different areas. Brick and mortar, obviously e-commerce is a big space now, and obviously the virtual assistants too. And then there's property. So which again, when I mean brick and mortar, obviously there's, a shop front, or a trade business, and then obviously the property side. So I sort of separate them into two. So I've just worked to diversify in all those four areas. And I think that's very important, especially with the current times. So I think it's important whether, you believe solely in one area, which a lot of business owners do. For example, a lot of them are very sold on brick and mortar and having all your money in property and then a few smaller investments. I believe, this separate it more evenly across the board, and organically you'll levitate into whatever area is best suited for you. However, I can strongly say that I think I'll always be spread across the board, of course, unless there's a huge financial crisis in some areas. That's what I believe is the way to go about it, through my own knowledge and the coach's advice that I've had. And I think it's very important. And along with spreading yourself in those areas, another very important investment is coaching. Like I said, having that mentor and teaching from someone who's been in the trenches and can actually give you that advice. Because look, I'm no expert. As I said, the majority of my life I've known how to kick a ball. I'm a baby in the business world. So for someone like myself, having that knowledge is passed down is very important. And I think every business owner, whether they're just starting or 30 years in the business, that's another very important investment to make.
Yeah, that's awesome. I completely agree with you with all of that. Diversification is so important. A lot of industries, you look at the travel industries, you look at so many other industries that, just shut up shop, massive lockdowns in Melbourne again now. They're doing all these stage 4 lockdowns again. And you don't know what's going to change, right? The new way forward, is there going to be as many, retail stores in shopping centers? I think they'll still be around, but is there going to be a bit of a shift in how many are out there? Instead of having 100 stores around the place, do you just have 20? All these other things you sort of don't know, and they can be very profitable, and depending on the industry, you've got to do your due diligence, I guess, in what areas you go in and how you grow them. But yeah, it's definitely important. So if one falls down, then you've still got other avenues of income like that. And property is always, sort of a stable one. That's something tangible that you can grow as well by making smart investments. And like you said, coaching and mentoring, like I've spent huge amounts on it, and I know you have, and I definitely advocate it. Like, I do it myself, obviously, because I want to give back with, what I've learned in my business journey and working with, very big businesses and things like that. And, it's so important. And it's, think about it in sport, right? All the best athletes yourself, you have coaches, right? To push you, to get you saying, these are the little, shifts that you need to do to really get to, your peak potential in performing, right? On that, on the pitch or wherever you play. And it's the same in business and in life, in other areas where, you need to get somebody that's been there and done that and saying, okay, what's the path that I need to go down? Instead of me taking 3, 5, 10 years, can I do this in 1 year? What do I need to do? How do I protect myself? How do I risk manage, in the way I do things? What's going to be the biggest path for growth? Is this an industry worth, going into? What does the outlook look like? Then, there's other coaches for mindset as well, which I've touched on, which is very important. And, even in, property or other areas, right? Is there still people like that where you're like, you could think just buy any property and it's going to work. It doesn't work like that, right? You could buy a property, it's going to bomb. There's a lot of different areas. So a lot of people, you've got to look at it as an investment. Like an investment in yourself is going to pay off so much more, tenfold, 100-fold than, any other investment that you put out there in the market. So it's so important. That's got me to where I am. And I'm sure it's got you to where you are. And, I'm sure like me, continue to invest in myself, over time, depending on, where I feel called to. I think that's a key thing as well in business, is that a lot of things, we've got to make. A lot of people say like, thinking in the head, what about my heart? But I think a lot of the time it comes down to our gut, right? Like our gut or intuition is another word for it, where what's that initial feeling about, should I do this or not? Like make a quick decision after a few seconds. Like what is my initial gut reaction saying? Okay. Do I have all the information? Do I need to go seek somebody out? There's all these questions that we need to ask ourselves and really follow that path. And if we tap into ourselves and do that, then I feel that, we're really going to, be on that purpose-driven path and get to where we want to be quicker along that. So, really great points in on that. What was your biggest failure and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so I've had a few.
You can name all of them if you want.
The main one obviously is the investment I made into my soccer career, to have nothing in my mind but that, for again the majority of my life. It was sort of out of my hands. Part of it was in an agent's hands, who literally overnight I was as high as can be, exactly where my path was destined to be, ready to move to Europe. Had a few good offers on the table, but at the same time I had a dodgy agent who was trying to put his benefits over mine, which turned out sour and was the beginning of a disaster the last few years of my professional career. So again, like I said earlier, I dealt with obviously some corrupt agents who were trying to do some dodgy things. I dealt with corruption at some clubs in Southeast Asia, where I really found out some dirty business in the sports world. I failed a medical in Asia as well for a very lucrative offer, which was quite upsetting. And then overall that period of what I experienced in 18 months was, to me, a very tough time. Leading to loss of confidence, depression, regret, and a number of things I can say now to say that was definitely the darkest time of my life. When all you did was put energy into one thing for so long, and then it's sort of out of your hands. It was a tough time. However, it was also the starting point into, okay, I want to help players not experience what I had to experience, which is why I've ever since been mentoring young players, brokering deals the right way, and making sure things run very smoothly, so the player focuses on the sport itself and not the business side and contractual side of the game. So I felt like that for me was a passion point, and always going to be a passion project for me because of my personal experience and what I dealt with. So for me, I'd say that was the biggest failure. And tough time in my life. However, definitely the biggest learning curve as well for me. And like I said, the resilience of being an athlete was what got me through in the first place, even though it was, from the same industry where I also found heartache. So it was such a roller coaster ride. And that was definitely, there was a few others after that when I experienced early days in business post football. However, that was in my life the biggest one so far. And thankfully it's a few mentors early on where I didn't want to spend the money on. However, I was following a few people. One of them, Jack Ma, who's a successful entrepreneur who owns Alibaba and multiple multiple e-commerce platforms, who I was literally watching him every day, because for me it was the closest thing I could get to a mentor at the time. And I just learned so many things of being self-aware, being disciplined, being resilient, just getting through things, hearing his failures early on in life, and just not taking no for an answer. And I think that is what drives me every day now, to think back at that time, which happened often being involved in the sport. I always think to myself, watching TV, some of these guys are actually older than me. I should technically still probably be playing at that level. However, I then bring it back to, well, hang on a second. I'm now where I am because of that situation that happened. Whether it was right or wrong, I believe that, it's led me to something great now. So very thankful for that opportunity to both play sport at the highest level, but experience what it's taught me now.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And, I completely agree and love all of what you said there. And I think the key component of that is that, in business, being an entrepreneur is understanding the pain points, right, of something. What's the problem that's out there? And you being in the forefront, happening to you, that drive, I can feel it, right? Where you're like, I don't want, this is, it was a dark time in my life, and it's great that you've bounced back from that. And that, that will continue to drive you, like you said. But being able to say is, I don't want to make, other people go down that path, and give them the solutions and the quick way, so they don't have to do that, is amazing. It's that's how, true entrepreneurs and businesses are born, and everybody wins, in those situations, which is really awesome. And I love, how you sort of talked about, the different people that you look to, and all those sort of traits from there, which is really important. And that's what's really, got you to where you are today, which is really awesome to see, in that way, Evan. And, we've known each other for a long time, and, since our teenage years. And, I remember playing indoor soccer with you in my team and beating the competition. We had some good games, and, you drive to be the best, your drive to be the best in football, has enabled you to have a winning mentality in business as well, right? So you now help other, aspiring football stars, to go down a similar path, which is awesome, along with helping people to work more on their businesses, through virtual assistants, which is, a great combination, very unique, and, really helping a lot of different people out there that really need that help. So, I'm very grateful, that our friendship's grown over the years, and, I look forward to doing business with you as well.
Yeah, and sure, man. I remember those days. It was a long time ago, but good fun. But no, I thank you, man. And I agree. We're going to definitely, it's good to see we're both trying to aspire to be the best version of ourselves. I'm sure we'll do some business in the future, or help each other out.
Definitely. I remember you playing when you were young in my team, and then you were like, "Listen, I can't play for you anymore. I'm going to play for the LA United youth team." I'm like, "That's all good, man. That, you're working your way up," which is the top team in Adelaide. One of the other major cities in Australia for the people overseas. And then obviously you got in and played for LA United in the National A League in Australia from the youth team. So it was good to, you always had the talent, and obviously the help from your father as well as other people, and that drive to do it. And that's what got you to where you are, because there's so many people in sport, in football especially, being the global game, where they don't make it. They rarely even get to the national level, in the country, let alone being able to go overseas. So, they are really great achievements. No matter how long that you play at that level, we always want to play the best, and, things don't last forever. But like you said, you learned a lot. And I think that true entrepreneurism came out in you early, and it took you down this path. And, I think we've always got to be open for opportunities, which is awesome. You've created them, and, who knows what else is going to come up in the future, right? That's the beauty of it, about life, and just sort of go down that path. So it's been really awesome to see your journey, mate, and I'm looking forward to seeing you continue to grow as well.
No, I appreciate that, man. Long way to go, but that's it. We just got to keep going, and I'm sure we'll get to where we need to be.
That's it. Love it. So thank you very much for your time today, Evan. I'm sure many people have greatly benefited, you know, from your valuable wisdom. So yeah, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can find me. My name obviously will be in the title of the show, but Evan Kostopoulos, and my personal, and then Eva Outsource. So EVA Outsource is on Instagram, Facebook, where you can find me, and then obviously the respective email, evaoutsource.com.au. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see if I can help anyone out there with their business and systemizing their processes a lot easier with virtual assistants.
Yeah, awesome. I'm sure you will. I'm sure many people will reach out accordingly. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching and listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram as Athin Cassiotis, or visit my website, athincassiotis.com. I completely agree with you, or do I? The only way you'll know is if you tune in next time. Until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. Have a great day.